The battlefield was tense. SEAL snipers had been aiming for minutes, but couldn't take down targets hidden deep in the rock crevices. Bullets embedded in the mountain walls. Enemy forces laughing arrogantly. Machine guns tearing apart the trenches. "We're about to be overrun!" a SEAL screams. A small figure steps forward from the rear ranks, clutching a dust-covered M2010. Her voice low, "Let me try." Bang! Bang! Less than a minute later, the entire enemy squad drops. The whole unit falls silent. Our snipers kept missing, but she took them all down. Clara Jameson, 29 years old, long brown hair, fair skin, slender build, battlefield logistics personnel. Her daily routine: inventory ammunition, first aid supplies, carrying water, preparing shelter tents, cleaning dust off teammates' rifles just to prevent barrel jams, quietly slipping protein bars into the pockets of soldiers on night watch. Her teammates appreciate her, but look down on her. Clara only fits logistics work. Let her handle bandages. We'll handle the fighting. She rarely speaks, usually just nods instead of answering. Once, Clara sat by a pile of sand, dropping grains into the wind to measure direction. A young SEAL laughed. "Planning to be a sniper?" The whole group laughed along. Clara just smiled faintly, but remembered her past. She'd ranked top in sniper training school, but quit after a training accident where a teammate was seriously injured due to her hesitation. Since then, she chose to hide her skills, only doing logistics. Real human detail, a transport soldier said. "Once I saw her cleaning a scope. The way she rotated her hands wasn't like someone who'd never been to shooting school." The truth was more complicated than anyone knew. Clara had grown up on a Wyoming ranch. Her father was a competitive marksman who taught her to shoot before she could properly drive. By age 16, she was outperforming grown men at regional shooting competitions. Military recruiters found her at a state championship. She was 18, hitting targets at distances that made seasoned shooters shake their heads in disbelief. They fast-tracked her into advanced sniper training. For 2 years, Clara was being groomed to be one of the military's elite marksmen. But during a live fire exercise, her spotter gave incorrect wind readings. Clara hesitated, questioning the data, trying to recalculate. In that moment of hesitation, enemy fire found her teammate's position. He was critically wounded, lost his left leg. "If I'd just trusted my instincts and fired," Clara told herself every day afterward. "If I hadn't second-guessed." That night, she submitted her withdrawal from sniper training. "I can't be responsible for split-second decisions that affect other people's lives," she told her commanding officer. Instead, she requested transfer to logistics, supply management, equipment maintenance, jobs where her mistakes couldn't get people killed. For 3 years, Clara Jameson successfully hid her marksmanship skills. She cleaned other people's weapons, organized their ammunition, supported their missions from the shadows. But skills like hers don't disappear. They just wait, hidden beneath layers of self-doubt and guilt, until the moment when hiding them becomes more dangerous than using them. Tonight, in Iron Hollow Valley, that moment was arriving, and Clara would have to choose: let her teammates die, or trust herself one more time. That night, at Iron Hollow Valley, the SEAL team was ambushed. Enemy squad hidden in rock crevices, positioned with machine guns and RPGs. 2 SEAL snipers fired continuously, but targets were too well concealed, couldn't get a kill. Enemy bullets rained down, trenches shaking with impact. A SEAL screamed, "We're about to be overrun." Clara, while bandaging wounded soldiers, looked up through binoculars that had fallen nearby. In her field of vision, an enemy carrying an RPG, preparing to fire. Clara slowly picked up the dust-covered M2010, wiped the scope, lay prone on the ground. "Let me try." Her voice calm. A soldier whispered, "Even our snipers can't do it." Bang! The RPG carrier dropped. Bang! The machine gun went silent. She continued. Steady rhythm of fire. Each shot dropping one target. The entire team fell silent. Only the sound of shell casings hitting the ground. Real human detail. Seal Vega. I used to laugh when I saw her cleaning scope lenses. That night, I understood. She didn't just know how to clean rifles. What happened in those critical moments was extraordinary. While the SEAL snipers struggled with difficult angles and concealed targets, Clara saw something they missed. Wind patterns, bullet trajectory calculations, compensating for elevation and distance. But more than technical skill. She had something the others lacked in that moment. Desperation born from responsibility. These weren't just targets to eliminate. They were threats to the people she'd been protecting and supporting for months. The young SEAL who'd joked about her playing sniper. The medic who always shared his coffee with her. The radio operator who showed her pictures of his daughter. All of them were going to die if she didn't act. Clara's training flooded back. Breathing control, heart rate management, reading wind drift through the scope, but most importantly, trusting her calculations instead of second-guessing them. First shot, 347 meters. RPG carrier, center mass, immediate drop. Second shot, 298 meters. Machine gunner, headshot through a gap in the rocks no bigger than a dinner plate. Third shot, 412 meters. Squad leader coordinating the attack. One shot, one kill. Fourth shot, 389 meters. Sniper trying to flank their position. Bullet through his scope lens. Each shot was a decision. Each trigger pull was Clara choosing to trust herself, to believe in her training, to act without hesitation. The enemy squad had been positioned perfectly for an ambush. What they hadn't counted on was facing someone with Clara's skill level. In less than 90 seconds, 6 enemy combatants neutralized. The ambush collapsed. The SEAL snipers lowered their rifles, staring at Clara with expressions somewhere between amazement and disbelief. "How did you see targets we couldn't even find?" one asked. Clara was already setting the rifle aside, returning to her wounded patient. "Different angle," she said quietly. Sometimes the best position isn't the most obvious one. But everyone knew it was more than positioning. They'd witnessed something that couldn't be explained by luck or beginner's fortune. Clara Jameson had just demonstrated why she'd been selected for elite sniper training years ago, and why her decision to leave that training might have been the military's loss. The question now was, who was Clara really? And why had she been hiding skills that could have saved lives long before tonight? In less than 60 seconds, the entire enemy squad had fallen. Smoke cleared. The trenches went dead silent. A soldier whispered, "Who are you?" "Really?" Clara didn't answer. Set the M2010 down. Returned to applying pressure to wounded soldiers. Commander Ross looked at her. "Nobody shoots like that without serious training." Clara replied softly, "I used to train, but I quit, because one moment of hesitation got a teammate badly injured. I swore I wouldn't shoot again, until today." Ross's voice was firm. "Today, you saved the entire team." Word spread quickly through the camp. 2 SEAL snipers missed their shots. One logistics person dropped them all in 60 seconds. Senior officers only wrote in reports, "Enemy squad eliminated, team extracted safely." No mention of Clara. But those SEALs present that night whispered among themselves, "Without Clara, we'd be on the casualty list." Real human detail. Penn, the communications soldier. Radio calls for backup went unanswered. But Clara's bullets were our answer. The transformation was immediate and profound. Soldiers who dismissed Clara as just logistics began approaching her with different questions. "Jameson, could you check the zero on my rifle scope? What do you think about the wind conditions for tomorrow's mission? I'm having trouble with long-distance accuracy. Any advice?" Clara answered their questions professionally, but always tried to redirect focus away from her shooting skills. "Check with your designated marksman first," she'd say, "but here's what I'd look for." The two SEAL snipers who'd missed their shots that night approached her privately. "Clara, we need to understand something. Those weren't lucky shots. That was professional-level marksmanship." Clara continued organizing supply inventories. "I had different training than most logistics personnel." "What kind of training?" Clara paused her work. "The kind that teaches you to make shots other people can't make. And the kind that teaches you when not to take those shots." She looked at them directly. "I chose not to. For 3 years. Tonight I chose differently." One of the snipers pressed, "But why hide it? Skills like that, they could have been helping us all along." Clara's voice became quiet. "Because the last time I used these skills, someone got hurt. Because I hesitated. I decided it was safer for everyone if I didn't shoot at all. But tonight you didn't hesitate. Tonight hesitation would have meant watching you all die. That was worse than the risk of making a mistake." Word reached higher command levels. A colonel arrived to investigate the incident. "Jameson, your personnel file shows no advanced marksmanship training. But witnesses describe shooting that surpasses our designated snipers." Clara stood at attention. "Sir, I have previous training that's not in my current file." "What previous training?" "Sniper school, sir. 2 years. Withdrew before graduation due to personal reasons." The colonel studied her face. "Personal reasons that involved a training accident?" Clara's jaw tightened. "Yes, sir. My hesitation during a live fire exercise resulted in a teammate's injury. I requested transfer to avoid future incidents." "But last night you showed no hesitation." "No, sir. Last night, hesitation would have cost more lives than action." The colonel nodded slowly. "Your teammates are recommending you for commendation. What do you think about that?" Clara looked out the window at SEAL's training on the range. "Sir, I think commendations should go to people who consistently perform their duties. I'm just trying to make up for 3 years of hiding." That evening, the commander called an informal meeting with the team. "I want everyone to understand something about what happened. Clara didn't just save our lives through marksmanship. She saved them through courage." He looked around the room. Courage to overcome past mistakes. Courage to trust herself when we needed her most. And courage to act when action was the only thing that would work. A young SEAL raised his hand. "Sir, will Clara be returning to sniper duties?" The commander looked at Clara. "That's her choice. But I can tell you this, she'll never be just logistics to this team again." Clara remained quiet, but for the first time in 3 years, she didn't feel like she was carrying the weight of her past mistake alone. Sometimes redemption comes through a rifle scope. Sometimes it comes through choosing to trust yourself one more time. A few days later, The base mess hall. Clara sat quietly, eating cold soup, wearing a faded jacket. A young SEAL, the one who used to mock her, placed a cup of coffee down. "I'm alive because of you." Others quietly left bread, cigarettes, beside her tray. Ross stood up in the middle of the mess hall, his voice carrying, "Never forget." That night, our snipers missed. But someone we considered just logistics kept us alive. No applause, no cheering. But everyone's eyes had changed. Quiet nods of acknowledgement whenever Clara entered a room. The chair next to her in the mess hall was always left empty from then on, a silent sign of respect. The change was subtle, but unmistakable. During mission briefings, commanders started asking, "Jameson, what's your assessment of the terrain? Any sniper positions we should be aware of? What's your read on enemy tactics in this area?" Clara answered professionally, but always emphasized her support role. "My primary concern is supply logistics, sir. But yes, I can identify potential threats." A week later, a new logistics soldier joined their unit. "Is it true what they say about you?" the young man asked. "That you're really a sniper?" Clara continued checking equipment inventories. "I'm logistics personnel. That's what matters here. But the stories about that night." Clara looked up from her clipboard. "Listen carefully. Your job is supporting the mission. Focus on that. Everything else is just backup capability." The new soldier pressed, "But if you're so skilled, why choose support work?" Clara set down her pen. "Because supporting people is just as important as protecting them. And sometimes, the best way to support them is being ready to protect them too." That evening, Commander Ross found Clara finishing her shift. "Clara, I've been thinking about what you said, about choosing support over combat." She looked up from organizing supplies. "Yes, sir? You proved something important that night," he said quietly. "That the best warriors aren't always the ones carrying rifles. Sometimes they're the ones carrying everything else, until rifles become necessary." Clara smiled. "Thank you, sir. That means everything. Some heroes wear combat gear. Others wear logistics uniforms. The best ones know when to switch." Clara Jameson had learned to carry both roles, and her teammates had learned never to underestimate the quiet ones. Some people get boxed into roles. Logistics doesn't fight, but when life and death arrive, they become the ones who save entire units. Clara Jameson set down her first aid bag, picked up a rifle, and did what even SEAL snipers couldn't do. Not to prove she was skilled, but so everyone could survive. If you've ever witnessed someone quietly doing something extraordinary, leave a dot in the comments. And if you believe that forgotten people deserve a place in these stories, subscribe to SN Quiet Stories channel. We tell the stories no one else tells, so that quiet heroes are never forgotten. Some people spend their lives avoiding the spotlight, but when the moment comes, when lives hang in the balance, they step forward and become exactly what the world needs. Clara Jameson never wanted to be a sniper again. She just wanted to keep her teammates alive. Sometimes, that requires skills you'd rather not use. Never forget.